Hey, everybody, welcome to Kansas City Business Cast. This is your host, Michael Reisinger. I have a very special guest here today. I know that I say that for every guest, but that's because a lot of folks I have on the show I've been watching and listening to for a long time. And in this case, I have my friend Ryan Newton here on the show. I've known Ryan for the last year. Got to watch him develop his own solar business. And so, Ryan, man, welcome to Kansas City Business Cast, man. It's so cool to make this happen.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It's about a long time coming. I'm just very excited to, have this opportunity to, share this moment with you. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about this for a little bit now, but I'm just very excited that, we're getting this rolling, getting this going. And yeah, for those who don't know, Ryan Newton,
Perfect.
I'm born in Florida, raised in Texas, so I'm very excited to be back here in Kansas City. Back in Kansas City, meaning did some college years up here, went back to Texas, and then now back up here. Been here for about 3 years, and yeah, I've started my own solar business up here, and yeah, it's been going great, and I'm very excited and thankful for this opportunity to um, I wouldn't say showcase my business with Michael, but just having this platform to be able to talk about why I do this, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Absolutely, Ryan. I'm excited to have you here. We just hit our friend anniversary over a year of
Yeah.
knowing each other, and we've had several meetups. Just shared coffee, shared business ideas. I think the thing that really when I started this podcast, I wanted to use document conversations that I was already having with people I knew and inspirational forces in the nonprofit and business space here in Kansas City. And as we started talking, and we just you and I kind of, I think our first meeting, it was like we were already talking about our origin stories. We were
Yeah.
talking about our journeys to Kansas City because we're both transplants here. And when you decided to go out on your own, I watched what you started doing, specifically with your social media. Now, I
Yeah.
know we'll talk about it a little bit as well, but out of the solar companies, at least that I've paid attention to, and I am not a solar industry guru. That's why you're here today, obviously.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, you are using Reels. You launched your YouTube channel. I know that you're developing that as well, and
Yes.
you bring a great source of education. I know that you've also gotten FAQs from people in the Referral Madness group and
Hmm.
people out in the community, and you literally you're door to door. You're also business to business, business to client, and I think the thing that I really appreciated was right off the bat you started doing putting yourself out there, showing your face. It's
Yeah.
not just an ad in the Instagram feed, and you're actually showing people who you are and who Rynori is. So
Hmm.
when you contact you for consultation, right? Because that's what it is. That's where it all begins.
Yeah.
They don't just call you and say, "Hey, I want panels on my roof." It's a process.
Hmm.
They actually get to know you, and so I really appreciate that. Um, all of that aside, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your origin story in the solar industry, and maybe tell us about your journey.
Yeah. I started in Texas. I honestly can't remember how long ago it was. It feels like about 7 years ago. Started in Texas, and yeah, I was just young door knocker. Worked for a solar company in Texas. Was a door knocker. Now, I feel like I can say this, and it's kind of funny. I was the worst door knocker ever. There was about 10 guys on our team, and I was the absolute worst one. But I grew up an athlete, and so I grew up, working hard. If you want to be good at something, you got to put in the work and you got to work hard. And that's what I did. I was out knocking as much as I could. And then I kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit because I was going back to college. It was I believe it was my senior year. My senior year, I didn't know how to, do any sales appointments. I was just knocking doors. And then I had a counterpart that really, really, showed me the way and, paved the path of how to be a better, I wouldn't, but yeah, I'll say a better sales guy. And yeah, he's my best friend to this day. Broderick Crane, shout out to Broderick. But yeah, he showed me the way, and we ran our office together. He was the sales manager, and then I became sales manager. So we're like kind of competing there for a second, and then I became regional. And then after I became regional, and I moved up really, really quick because I
As a
was.
regional, by the way,
Mhm.
what did that mean? Like, what territory did you have other offices, other managers? What was that leadership structure look like?
So regional, I was over the. So we had a split where it was everything above Austin, Texas was mine, and everything below Austin, Texas was. Um, I'm not sure who. I can't remember who the regional was
Okay.
on that part,
So pretty big
but yeah,
territory in Texas. Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty big territory. But I slowly began to building my office and then building the right people around me to, send out to different places to actually open those offices. I actually, my first year, no, within my first month of being, I think it was either being regional or president of sales, I quadrupled the sales within like the first month. And so at that point, I gained the trust in, what I know. And what really got me to that point is taking initiative and, learning from my mistakes and not making the same mistake over and over. Right. So by taking what the knowledge I know and just, you know, duplicating that into other people, that built me a really good, solid foundation with, having the right people in the right places. And then boom, moved up to president of sales. Was president of sales for probably about 2-ish years before I ended up moving up here to Kansas City. And then, yeah, moved here to Kansas City. Unfortunately, the that company I worked with did go under,
I was
but
gonna.
yeah, it was kind of a I would say a blessing in disguise because I didn't know it would lead me to the point I am now. So I did work for two solar companies as a sales rep here in Kansas City. Shortly after that, I did work with another solar company with um, trying to help him build his business and everything like that. And it was an eye opener for me because I felt like I didn't have the confidence within myself to build something of my own. And once I realized what it took, I just took a leap. I took a leap, and I have I have to really thank my fiance for trusting me and giving me the support that I needed to, become the business person I am today, because I wouldn't be able to, do those things without her support. But it was it was a leap of faith. It was scary, and I had a really good support system with, Referral Madness and everyone, wanting to, help me grow my business. And it was a lot going into it with, especially being the only person, doing sales, doing marketing, doing, making sure projects are going getting from point A to point B.
All of the
It was a lot.
operations stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Billing
Yeah.
too. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, how's that going, by the way? How is
It's,
operations? We'll dive. We'll come
yeah.
back to the origin story too, but like, how is it balancing all the duties of running your own solar business?
It's a lot, but at the same time, I feel like it's kind of funny. People say, "Oh, there's not enough time in a day." There's enough time in a day. I feel like there's enough time in a day if you structure it out the way, like if you structure it out and give focused time and focused energy to those tasks, there's enough time in the day. And I honestly, I do have to thank the past solar companies I have worked with because um, they have taught me some skills that haven't necessarily been my strong suit in the past. I wasn't a good, I was a procrastinator. I had those bad habits. I feel like everyone always has those bad habits. I had those too. And I've realized that things have to change in order for things to get better. You have to sacrifice those things that you want right now to get the things you want later. So
Mm,
instead of, playing games, my dad's gonna laugh when he sees this. I actually read books now. So,
yeah.
um, and yeah, I try to consume as much knowledge as I can that's going to benefit me, right? So I have. I've have structured time where I'm spending on like Monday through Wednesday. I don't want to kind of bore you through what I do throughout the week, but Monday through Wednesday, I'm building. I have a little bit more focus on my marketing side with what I'm gonna post, what my content is gonna be, and then also every single day I'm out spending. It's called I have to take this from what I've learned before. MMA, money making activities. I spend half of my day, I would say probably from noon to the rest of the day is MMA, money making activities. So yeah, I mean, it's all about structure. I've shout out to my dad who was in the military. I grew up in a very structured household growing up, so that's kind of helped me, shape me to have the mindset that I do have right now, and also being an athlete that has, helped me be resilient. Pushing through times where it gets hard, because it's hard. We all know this. It sells. It's like that. It's a wave.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just
Well,
pushing through times like that.
I love how you mentioned dealing with procrastination. You know, the stressors of life too, like a move to, from Texas to Kansas City. Um, the being in college. And by the way, what was your degree major and what type of athlete were you? Which sport?
I was a criminal justice major,
Are you
and I played
serious?
basketball.
You know what?
Criminal justice, yeah,
You might have told me that. I was a criminal justice major as well. I got my
that's
bachelor's of
right,
science
yeah.
in criminal justice when I was in California. So, yeah, it's being a business consultant now and a podcaster and working for an engineering firm. I tell people that and they go, "Huh?" And it's like that is so common too. I mean, it is
Yeah.
so common to go get your 4 year degree for what made sense at the time. From one criminal justice major to another, though, I can tell you that I've looked back with mixed feelings on it. Right, like, oh
Hmm.
well, how is that showing up in my work that I do now, and was it worth it, and all this? And I thought, you know what, the amount of information that I learned about human psychology,
Hmm.
about the way the justice system works and doesn't work,
Hmm.
and all of the different opportunities in that sort of industry. I mean, it really did point me more to my true north of wanting to help people.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds so ambiguous, right? I just want to help people. But truly, if I am making an impact, if I'm a part of something bigger than myself, and I'm having meaningful conversations that are helping me walk away learning more about that person, that relationship, life,
Right.
whatever it is, and they're getting the same thing, that's where I think I feel the most fulfilled. Um, Something I noticed about you as well too, that something that really kind of separates you, I think, from who I know as the average salesman is you have this way of just kind of dropping bangers. When it comes to like now solar, but you did before, even when I watched you selling packaging services. But can
Yeah.
you kind of give us some of your one-liners or two-liners on solar? And there's a couple in particular that I'm remembering, but I think it's better that you kind of talk about that and how you generate them too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel like at the end of the day, we're people and I just try to be a person. I'm a humorous person. Sometimes, I'm an introverted person, or I grew up introverted, but this, being in sales, being in, what I do now to really help me come out my shell. But yeah, I mean, one of the ones that pops in my head is, um, we got to get out of this abusive relationship with our utility company. That's one that just pops in my head. Um,
That was
yeah,
the first one I thought of. Yeah.
you own your car, you own your house. Why not own your power? That's one that really some people don't correlate owning your power because they don't think you can actually own your power, but you can.
Right. Yeah. So when we're talking about solar, the importance of it, what are some things that you think everybody should know about just the solar industry? And we'll go from there because I know you there's a lot of things that you can discuss. And honestly, what I hope everybody feels after listening and watching this conversation is that they go and they check out your YouTube channel. Well, of course, we'll link everything
Yeah.
in the show notes, and they can watch some solar unfiltered reels where you give those facts out there. But if like for me, for example, I don't have solar panels on my home right yet, something that we've talked about doing. But why is it important to own your own power? Maybe we could start there.
Well, if this all goes back to, just think about where you're at right now, or where you have been with your utility company and where you're at right now. Um, it's kind of it's multiple directions we can go with that question, but I like talking about how we've how electric rates have been before what they are now. And it's, you got to think about, if we continue to do what we've been doing in the past, you know, and we do that in the future, what do you expect to happen with utility rates, right? So you expect it to go down? You expect it to go up? You expect it to level off at some point? No. Like, it's going up, and it's going up at a crazy rate, because on average rates increase about 4% every year. Now, last year, I believe in the Kansas City area, rates increased about 6%. And now we're in full force of time of use, which between 4 and 8, at least on the Missouri side, between 4 and 8, getting charged 38 cents per kilowatt, which
What do you
is,
mean by 4 and 8? Is that 4 hours to 8 hours? What?
yeah, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Is that
Yeah.
considered peak time?
Yeah, consider peak time,
Okay.
because, what people are doing between those times, getting home from work, making dinner, doing laundry, kids are playing games. It was funny because I met with somebody yesterday, and we were talking about the time of use, and I'm like, yeah, look, his son was over there playing video games. I'm like, it's 5 o'clock right now. Look what your son's doing, playing games. And this is what it does. They're taking advantage of the peak hours, the peak times when people are doing the most, so that obviously they charge more during that time. And so, and also it's kind of funny, what is it? It's the 10th, on July 30th, July 31st, I can't remember. I just asked for a 14% rate increase. So
They
it's
asked. Who did
the
they
the,
ask?
the Public Commission's Office.
Okay. So 6%
So,
increase last year,
mhm.
14 more percent.
Yes. So this will probably, I'm not going to say anything. It's not set in stone, but this will
Sure.
probably go into effect maybe beginning of 2025, because around this time in 2022, everyone asked for an 8% rate increase. So it's what they ask for, they usually get, unfortunately. But
Right.
this solar is a way out of this, right? So you are replacing what you're currently paying with your utility company, and now you own your own power. Typically, I don't want to say any specific numbers, but it ranges between, so I'll mention yesterday. So yesterday,
Sure.
spoke with someone. He, in the next, over the next 25 years, he would have spent about $203,000 to his utility company. And solar covers, or his overall savings with solar was about $110,000 over the next 25 years.
Wow.
So it's,
So more
you're
than
already
half,
paying for it,
basically, he would
more than
slash.
half. Yeah, and it's situation by situation. Some people pay more, some people pay less, but at the end of the day, this is something that you're already paying for. It's something that you need no matter what. So why not have control and predictability over it, right?
Right.
And that's what solar provides.
Absolutely. So another, I think it's pretty much assumed. I think everybody just assumes like solar is friendly for, the planet. Um,
Mhm.
it's a cleaner option to get your power, all that. Um, can you tell me why? Like, pretend like I know nothing about solar. Ryan, why is solar a better way to get power than just pulling it out of the utility company, 100% out of the utility company?
Well, like I said, there's so many different ways we can go about this, but So I would say right now, do you know where you get your power from? You know where it comes from?
Dinosaur bones.
Dinosaur bones. Yeah.
It's
It
fossil
comes
fuels.
from, yeah,
It comes from oil.
exactly.
They have all the power plants run on generators, correct?
Hmm.
Well, most power
Right.
plants, right? And when
Sure.
you
Yeah.
drive by one, there's tanks of gas that are basically it's burning fuel to make
Hmm.
electricity. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All
So
right.
do you know how far away that power actually is?
How far away it is?
Yeah.
Like in distance?
Distance. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say a specific number because I don't want anybody calling me out on it,
Sure.
but it's pretty far away. It's pretty far away. Some studies say we get our power from other states. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I know we do produce power here and send it to other states as well. But we do get our power
Um,
from miles and miles away. So you go from getting your power from miles and miles away, which a simple science, the further energy travels, the more it gets lost throughout the process, right?
mhm.
So would you rather get your power that, it's inefficient, it costs money to actually send it to your house. So there's a cost with sending the power to your house. There's a cost with making the power, and then you actually had to pay to use it or get it from what 10, 12 feet in the air, right?
Right.
And it's
Right.
going to be the same no matter how much you use.
I think it's important to really nerd out on the how. That's why part of why we have this time here. When you consult with people, I guess, what does a typical consultation look like when you're talking about, okay, you want solar panels? What are
Mhm.
some factors, some things you ask them, or some things that are important so people can maybe inform themselves before, maybe hiring you? And then
Yeah.
we'll talk more about what it looks like to actually get them installed and, what maintenance looks like. But from the beginning, you already expressed the importance of it. What's the how and what are some things people need to be mindful of?
Well, I'll say this right off the bat. You probably won't hear this from everyone, but it's not a good fit for everyone, right? It's situation by situation. Some houses have a good sunlight exposure. They're faced the right way. Trees, we have to think about trees, roof pitches. Um, I think this was Monday or Tuesday, I had somebody that was like, "Yeah, I want solar. I want to know how many panels it is. I want to know how much it's going to cost." And I'm like, "Oh, let's take a second. Let's take a step back. I'm not even sure this is going to work out for you. So let me go into the details. I'll show you how it works first. I'll show you what it'll look like on your roof, what it'll produce, and then I compare apples to apples, how they're currently being billed by their utility company and how it'll be different with solar, right? So, and then I have the luxury to have a great software that tells me um, how much shading a house has, how many panels will fit on that house, what direction it's facing, and if they have the right amount of roof space to fit their energy needs. So I know there's a lot of people out there that, and I've mentioned this before. There's a lot of people out there who want solar. That's great, but I feel like there's a lot more people out there who actually need it, right? So that's typically what I go into whenever I, have a consultation with somebody and somebody is, interested in solar. I look at their current situation because sometimes they may be better off just staying with their utility company, right? So, yeah,
And
and it's that's something that, I'm just very upfront about. Like you may be better off staying with what you're doing right now.
right. And so what makes it so that solar wouldn't be a fit for somebody? Is it the cost that it would cost that family or that homeowner to install versus the return? Because maybe they just don't get enough sunlight during the day. I mean, what is the point where you would actually tell someone? Because when you say it's probably not the best fit for you, you're turning business away. And
Yeah,
that takes a lot of integrity, which, again, that's a reason why you're here, Ryan.
yeah, yeah. I
Because you
appreciate
will actually
that.
tell people, you know what? I don't think this is the best idea. But where is that point where you and the homeowner come to that agreement you're helping them literally vet out solar as an option or vet
Mhm.
in, right?
Yeah.
Where's that decision
Yeah.
take
So
place?
it's funny you mentioned that because last week I was I'm not gonna give away where I go door knock at, but I was
Absolutely.
knocking pretty close to where I live, and I knocked on this guy's house, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about going solar, just haven't found the right company." I take a step back, like literally physically. I take a couple steps back, I pull out my compass on my phone, and then I looked at the Google Maps, looked at his overall aerial view
Hmm.
of his roof, and yeah, I mean, you have a beautiful home, first off, beautiful home. Your roof, your roof isn't a good fit for it. The biggest part of his roof was facing north. North is like in the winter, or when it ices, the
Because the
north part of your
sun
roof.
rises
Right,
rises in the east and sets in the west. I know that
right.
probably sounds very elementary to most of our listeners, but that's why it's important, right? So his roof is
Yes,
facing north. Okay. Thank you.
yes. And on the south side, he had just nothing but tree, or it wasn't his trees, it was his neighbor's trees that were
He
just
has no control over.
exactly. So I was like, yeah, I mean, somebody can probably come over here and sell you solar and put solar on your roof, but it will not produce anything because of these trees, and I won't put them on the north because they won't produce anything. So that would be the case where I would, be like, hey, I know you're interested, but it's not going to be a good fit for you, unfortunately.
I just kind of putting myself in that person's shoes. I can imagine the disappointment, obviously,
Yeah.
because if their bill sucks, it sucks, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But the relief to say, it just strikes me when they in that first part of the conversation they said, "Yeah, I've been looking out for solar, but I haven't found the right company yet." We don't know what they had been through. Maybe they
Mhm.
had people come out and like try to sell them panels and it was way too expensive, or maybe people just didn't show up, or maybe they
Mhm.
did. Maybe they said, "Hey, man, I did an overhead view. You're not gonna. It's not gonna be a good fit for you." But the fact that you were there in person to actually open up your tablet and do the research yourself, I can also feel a sigh of relief to be able to close the door on that.
Yeah.
Um, say solar's not a fit. What do you say to them at that point if they're wanting to find better ways to save energy?
Energy efficient, um, energy efficient products that they can do in their house.
Yeah.
LED lights, smart
Yep.
thermostat. Do they have attic insulation? Um, are they using a lot? Do they have I know they have smart, what are they called? Smart, um, main service panels now, which is, I've never heard of those before until maybe a couple months ago, but they have those now. Solar attic fans. There's other things that they can do. AC units, getting a higher efficient AC unit. Yeah. And is there, how old is their roof, right? So we can go to the age of their roof. Is it, uh, what's the not the warranty? What's the length on your roof? Is it, how old is it? Is it 10 years old or is it 20 years old? Or is it a 50-year or a lifetime roof? Those things would play a factor. So there's other ways to make your home efficient, but I would say obviously being a completely biased, solar is the number one way to go. If your home's not a good fit for it, um, there are other options for you out there.
Man, that's kind of mind blowing in a few senses. Like I would expect like energy efficient uh items in the house, but
Mhm.
if I was that customer and you were naming all of those things to me, there were a few that I had never thought of.
Yeah.
And before I ask you about the decision to say this is a hell yes for solar, which is the other side of that coin, I have to make a shameless plug to our friend Jim Harper at Mechanically Inclined for all
Love
the
Jim.
HVAC stuff. Hopefully he listens and he hears us send him that love because he's part of our group too. And
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from him in terms of, you know, changing out the AC filters and how often do I really need those and what's the rating on those. But
Right.
say you go out to a person's house and You do all the things that you just talked about doing. You're looking at the pitch of the roof. You're looking at where the house is facing. You assign when is it like a heck yes, and then what does it look like actually signing up? We're talking cradle to grave, right? From the birth of
Yeah.
that decision to sell all the way until you get it installed. Can you give us that process, I guess?
Yeah, so typically, if somebody they're like, yeah, everything makes sense, what happens next? Where do I sign, basically?
Mm-hmm.
So we do, depending on which route they want to go, if they want to, you can do a loan process of it, or you can do cash. So if they do a loan, they have to have the credit for it. Um, I typically, try to keep this is gonna sound weird. I try to keep the level of excitement kind of not too high, not too high, because some people will be very excited for it, and then it's a good fit for their home, but they don't qualify for it. So I try to keep that level of excitement kind of low until I get that approval from my lender, and they're like, "Yeah, it looks like you guys qualify for it." But then again, I still kind of keep it not too high because we speak with the city. We have to get permits from the city. We speak with the utility company. The utility company can actually still deny your application. So after that point is where I'm like, all right, we're good to go. Congratulations. You guys are going solar. So
Are there
after we
still
speak
home
with,
associations that can block you as well? Do you see that too often?
that's fairly new. So in
Ah,
Missouri, I believe it was in 2022 or 2023 in Missouri, HOAs can't say no anymore. And then recently this year on the Kansas side, they can't say no anymore.
okay,
So
right on. Let's go.
yeah,
Let's
they
go,
can
baby.
only say you can't have them. Yeah, they only say you can't have them on certain areas, but there's ways around that.
Sure.
I don't know the specifics, but if you take off the panels on the front and the loses a certain amount of your offset, then the HOA can't say anything.
Right. And the
Right?
HOA, if they were going to say they didn't want anything on the house, it'd be on the front, the curb,
Yeah,
right? Because they want everything. We won't get into
yeah,
HOAs, but
yeah.
provided the energy company, they sign off on it, city
Mhm.
signs off on it, what's the process look like then?
Then
You
after
got green
that,
lights everywhere.
if we got all green lights, then we typically come out and install a week or two after. After we install, we then get it inspected again by excuse me, we get it inspected by the city.
Hmm.
After the city comes out and says, all right, you're good to go, then it has to come out and put their smart meter on. And I'm not trying to badmouth or anything like that, but they have from system being inspected and approved, they have 30 days
Hmm.
to put that new meter on. They typically take literally 30 days to do it. So
Makes
that's
sense.
probably the longest part of the process. After the new meter is on, we turn your system on. You're up and running.
So let's back up a bit. Are you on the roof putting these panels up, Ryan? Where do they
I've
come
been.
from? Who does it? Like, tell us about that whole process.
I do have an installer. Shout out to Mark. He does a really really good job. Um, but yeah, I do not. I don't get on the roofs.
Okay.
I used to, back in my earlier years, I got on a couple of roofs to see how it's done. But yeah, I leave that to the pros. They know what they're doing with that, and uh, it's like with cars. If you want to put something nice in your car, you let the pros do it. All right, so
Absolutely. So, as far as quality control goes, because that's been my observation with solar companies, and remember, me being from California originally, I got my first solar sit down sales appointment probably about 18 years ago.
oh
And,
well,
that's because I think California was on the leading edge with that because so darn hot, brownout central all the time. If it's not wildfires, it's flash floods.
yeah,
It
yeah,
just or the fact that it gets a well over 100 degrees in Southern California several days out of the year, and so power drain is just a real thing. So I
yeah.
remember asking about that process, and you and I have talked a little bit about that as well. So who do you buy the solar panels from, or where do they come from? Who do you source locally? And then, yeah, the quality control element. Obviously, the power company has part of that too, because they come out and they inspect, That's when they put their meter on. But like, how do you assure the client, hey, this isn't going outside of Rynori now. I just want you to
Yeah,
know
yeah,
I'm managing this process. What does that all look like? As
right.
per
So
usual, I give 5 questions in one question. So,
yeah, and I got every single one of them.
my
So
man,
who handles
insane.
it? Yeah, who handles it? There. So right off the top, there's warranties that cover everything, right? So it's a 25-year, typically 25-year warranty that covers the production of the panels, right? Then there under each panel, not to get too technical, under each panel there's a microinverter who also has its own monitoring service. So if you want to monitor your system, you can. It's an app that you use. You'll be able to see each panel, what it's producing at, if it's producing or not. We use the same services to see if your panel's working at its optimal power. If it's not, you literally just give me a call and I send that over to my installer and be like, hey, so and so said panel 4 and panel 16 are not running at its optimal power. Can you take a look? So we look at it remotely. If it can't get fixed remotely, then we come out, inspect it on site, and see if something needs to get replaced. Typically, there's no maintenance needed at all when it comes to having solar because they're not moving, right? They're just sitting there collecting power, and that's what their job is. They just sit there and collect power. So there's little to no maintenance at all. I would recommend maybe cleaning them once a quarter and just strictly water because if you use chemicals, that would void the warranties. We also do have a 25-year workmanship warranty, covers all the work that we do. Typically, for complete transparency, there the first rain of the year, let's say you get installed today, right? If there's a rain or if rain comes like next week, yeah, you're obviously probably you may be prone to having a leak, but what the warranty does, it's the reason why it's so long is because the
A leak
longer,
on your roof because the
right,
panels are literally bolted and staked into your roof.
right,
Okay.
right. And I'm
But yeah, local contractors, local
yeah,
teams, people that you've
yeah,
worked with before, people that are not just contractors you found on Craigslist or whatever people are using, next door app,
yeah.
but you've got this relationship with these people who are installing. Um I'm guessing too, like hail, especially in the Midwest. Like how do solar panels do with these golf ball sized hail chunks we sometimes get out here?
Yeah, the hell out here is ridiculous. And I thought it was hailing last night, I could lie. But the panels, they are hail resistant. They're weatherproof. They can I posted a video on my social media pages. It's a video of someone simulating a hailstorm, right? And they tested the worst hailstorm ever at 262 miles per hour going at a solar panel and it did not break. They also drove a little Fiat over the solar panels, didn't break. They also drove a Tundra over the panels and it didn't break. So
Okay.
the panels they're built to last. If they're going to be outside, they better be able to withstand whatever comes at them.
How are they built? Where do you source them from?
Right.
Let's talk about the materials. When you come and put panels on my roof, where does it come from? How does that work? I totally understand it. Driving a car over them, that's awesome. That makes me feel really good. But how do
Yeah.
you source it? How does it get to your local contractors? What does that look like?
So it depends on what kind of solar panels you get. Solar panels can come from China, they can come from Asia, Philippines, Thailand, whatever it may be. There's also some US-made panels. When I was in Texas, doing solar in Texas, there were Texas-made panels. So people wanted, Texas-built panels, which you can get them from anywhere. At this point, my installer does his thing, gets them from. I'm not sure which distributor he gets them from. I know there's a couple out here, but he
Okay.
gets them from them, and he's on great terms with them, has a great relationship with them, and yeah, they typically either get drop shipped right to the customer's house a week before install, or we take them out there. If it's a lot of panels, they typically get drop shipped out there, but if it's about 15, 25 panels, we usually
Mm.
just take them out there. But Yeah.
No, that's awesome. What are some of your favorite jobs? I've seen a couple, and this is why. I mean, you share
Yeah.
what you're able to, obviously with homeowner consent and all that stuff. But what are some of the best jobs that you've seen happen since you started Rynori? And yeah, just a couple of huge victory stories, if you or just your favorite jobs, because sometimes you'll do them on open land too, right? They're not always on
Yeah.
a house. So, what's the variation, and what are some of your favorite jobs that you've done?
Well, there's two that popped in my mind. I'll start with the easier one. So out in Belton, Texas, it's kind of funny. So I first spoke with them when I was with another solar company a couple years ago here in Kansas City. When I first got to Kansas City, well, not when I first got here, probably after I had left the company I was with in Texas. I had joined a solar company here,
Sure.
and they were ready to do it. They wanted to, they didn't want to take a loan out for it. They wanted to pay cash for it. They didn't have the money for it right then and there, but they said, hey, in September, we'll be ready to go. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back from them, which, it happens. And I'm not sure if they were trying to still get a hold of me, but they got a hold of somebody from that company I was with. Now, the reason I'm not mentioning this company is because I don't want to, I'd never badmouth any other company.
Sure.
But
I'm with you. I'm with you on that as
yeah,
well.
what they apparently took way too long with the initial process of they they took the panels to her house. They dropped in there, I think in October of this past year. And then they started doing work without having the right approval. And so definitely right off the bat we're having a bad experience with solar. And I hit them up at the right time. And it was all timing. And they were like, yeah, we've actually gone solar with so and so company. And this was in February when I talked to them, and they still didn't have their panels up.
Hmm.
So they had
Okay.
panels at their house on their lot in October and still didn't have them installed, and it's January, February, and so
Hmm.
I ended up helping them out, getting them out of that contract. They had a cancellation fee. I ended up paying the cancellation fee for them, and yeah, now they have solar, and now what their biggest thing was that is they wanted to be taken care of, right? They
Right.
were trying to call somebody to from that company, and they weren't getting a hold of anyone. They were kind of getting the runaround, and so I even told them, I was like, hey, the way I was, I don't want to say I was hounding them. The way I was, messaging them, staying in contact with them before them going solo with me, expect that after you guys go solo with me, because I want to make sure that you guys are taken care of from point A to point B, and that you're having the best experience possible. Now
Absolutely.
that I'm really grateful took care of them. That was the biggest system I have ever installed. It was a 43.13 kilowatt system, which in layman terms, I think that was about 94 panels.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
they needed a lot. They use a lot, and
Sure.
some people need that much. Um,
Absolutely.
on the second hand, it was a little bit of a different situation. Um, like I mentioned before, there's some people who want solar, but there's some people who actually need it. She was one of the ones who needed it. She is recently just living on her own, got her house by herself. She lost some family members, really close family members in back-to-back consecutive years. And so she was really, really fed up with how it was just continuing to increase their rates, because if everyone increases their rates 14%, do you expect a 14% pay raise? No, right? So she was just completely devastated by what I was doing, and not really caring about the people that this was affecting, right? So she was concerned. Her concern also was, she wants to be taken care of. She doesn't want to be taken advantage of, because she's the only one living in her house. She's the only one that pays the bills. And we did share our heart-filled moment when she actually got qualified. She like burst into tears, and she was like, "Oh, thank goodness! I didn't think this was something I was able to do." I explained to her, what you pay is what it's going to be. You now know exactly what to expect. You're now out of this rat race with staying with paying their increased rates. Now you have certainty, and she was completely thankful for me. I talk to her maybe once every couple of months just to see how she's doing, if her system's working and everything like that. But yeah, that was one of the people that needed solar. She definitely needed it for sure.
So when we're talking about the company, so Rynori, does running Rynori look like today versus when you started, which was it December of last year or January of this year?
It's
Maybe
about
you already
January,
said.
February. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you started literally this year as you've been running the company, um, and you're looking to add the right people, right? Maybe this is kind of like a job advertisement right
Yeah.
now, but maybe this is a real like a job ad for you. What do you think it takes to be successful in this business?
Oh, I've learned this recently from you have to be a driven person. Um, you have to have the right habits. It's not, I would say the most important thing behind being behind doing what I do is what I do behind the scenes, right? So it's, am I eating right? Am I waking up at the right time? Am I going to bed at the right time? Am I taking care of my mind? Am I taking care of my body? Right? So it's you do outside of these things is I would say it's the most important thing because if I'm waking up at 10 o'clock in the morning, or I'm not knocking anybody who does that or anything like that, but if you're waking up late, eating bad, and going to bed late, staying up late, playing games, staying on your phone to 3 o'clock in the morning, it's the habits that you have that fuel you throughout your day, right? So I personally, I like to make sure that I am on my P's and Q's when it comes to waking up on time. I have structured time of what I'm doing. And yeah, it's all about your mind, your physical, your body, your being, your balance, and your business. And body, taking care of your body, making sure you're physically, and I'm saying get jacked, just staying physically active, staying fit. Being is your mind. Is your mind in a good spot? Right? Mental it's a huge thing. I didn't think it was as important until I, figured out recently that having your mind in the right space and what you're consuming is really, really important. Your being, excuse me, your balance. I see that as your family. Is your house in order? Is your family on the same page of what you're doing right now? Right? Do they support you? Right? So, like I said, I wouldn't be able to do anything what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for the support of my household. And then obviously your business, keeping your business in order, not letting things not letting your business flood into your physical or your body, or not letting your other things um, flood into other different avenues. So just keeping them organized and keeping every single one at the standard of what you want it to be. And because it's important, for me, I think it's very important because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now when it comes to my business if I wasn't active, if my mind wasn't right, if, like I say, if I didn't have the support of my family. So it's all about the habits that you have, first and foremost, and then you have to be. I would say you just gotta have to be a driven person. You got to be coachable. You have to be able to, um, learn, make mistakes, keep going. You have to be driven. You can't let your highs be too high. You can't let your lows be too low. You have to stay between a certain range, and it kind of, in a way, you have to desensitize yourself to getting really too bad. Because I mean, things can get bad. I mean, I've had times where it was really bad, and I got really really low, and that affected other parts of my life, and I got really low in business. My business went down, right? And so you have to be able to control the controllables, and um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But control what you can control. You have to have good habits. You have to be a driven person. You have to be coachable. Um, yeah, yeah. I'll
Absolutely.
just leave it at that. Yeah.
Love it. And when I talk with folks like you, and there's only one Ryan Newton, like your path, your journey, everything that you've you've learned and applied. You said in the beginning of the interview, you said, my dad will laugh about this, but I read books now, right? And
Yeah.
I think there was a similar point in my life, where I realized, gosh, all these successful people, they seem to be readers.
Yeah.
And what is it about that? And I didn't realize, I think I was a learner at my core for the longest time. It's just
Hmm.
I didn't really make the connection to getting it from books and having, when you read a book, you're getting the experience of that person who's writing it context of business books, right? And you and
Yeah.
I have talked about a few, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. But as far as like reading goes, to fill that part of the being portion like you were talking about, what are some of the most influential books that you've read, authors? We'll just kind of start there.
Um, excuse, but
Sure.
the most recent book that I'm reading right now is called Never Split the Difference. It's really helping me um, knowing how to communicate with people better, knowing how to get things across, or how to help people understand what I'm saying at a better way. And yeah, I really love that book. It's helping me a lot right now. I'm only a quarter of the way through right now, but I just recently started it. But yeah, that book, it's
Yeah, it's
amazing,
Chris
amazing.
Voss who, as far as learning goes, you're reading the book, obviously never split the difference when it comes to leadership and communication and all that. How do you stay smart on the solar industry with trends? Because obviously, Solar Unfiltered, that is your official name for the reels that you've done, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you call it unfiltered because why? Why is it called unfiltered?
I've realized that there's some solar companies out there that in order for you to get information about solar, you have to fill out an ad, fill out a form, and book an appointment to talk to somebody who's going to sell you, right? So why it's solar unfiltered is because I want to put out the knowledge with no strings attached, right? And I'm going to give you the information, give you what you need to know without um, any buffer or without any fluff or whatever it may be. So my phrase, you can't really see it, says empowering tomorrow with solar today. And I was kind of thinking like, what am I empowering? Who am I empowering? I feel like I'm empowering everyone. I'm empowering people who want solar, homeowners. I'm empowering people who um, don't really know much about solar, especially being here in Kansas City. I've realized there's not many people who really know much about solar. So I'm empowering them with the knowledge that they need to know, the right knowledge, the correct knowledge, the solar unfiltered knowledge of what they need to know in order to see if solar is a good fit for their home. Right. So yeah, that's why it's solar unfiltered. That's why I go by empowering tomorrow with solar today. Um, but yeah,
And
so
as far
what?
as
Yeah,
the
I've
industry goes, yeah.
right, exactly. There's a lot of companies who don't really have ethical practices and whatnot, and that's the number one thing that I strive on, and that I hold myself to, is that I would rather not have the business, but know in my head that I told this person the exact truth of how this actually works. Right. So some people will say, oh yeah, you will go solar and you won't ever have another bill ever again. All right. So like even if you have all of your solar covered, or all of your energy covered by solar, you still there may be some months where you do have a bill, like a really, really small bill. But that to say like yeah, to lack of better words, yes, solar unfiltered. I want people to know what they're getting themselves into. I want them to get this knowledge without any strings attached. And yeah, that's why I go by. My channels are solar unfiltered. Yeah.
With Solar Unfiltered, you're bringing industry knowledge out and you're making it digestible so that you're, uh, again, not even your future customers, but just people in general,
Mhm.
everyone can get the information so they don't have to read, long articles, scroll the net for updates on the industry and all that. What are some of your resources? Where do you get your information
Yeah.
from?
This is the trick that I use. So I set Google updates, right? So there's keywords like solar installation. I put in all the different utility companies. That's how I found out that everyone's having a 14% rate increase. I get updates every single day on
Wow.
what is out there, what people are posting, what people are saying out there, and I just get updates instead of me having to type into Google what what's new in solar or whatever it may be. I get emails every single day of what the updates are, and I take about 20-30 minutes just to make sure I'm up to date with everything.
That's I've never heard of Google updates before. I'm actually, part of me, my mind is blown. The other part is, how did I not know that?
Yeah.
But again, that's the point of this show too, is, my whole thing with learning more and knowing less. It's like when I learn about this stuff and I see the tips and tricks you use, um, I appreciate that because
Yeah.
there's an efficiency there. That's also you using the technology that you have readily available. We all have this stuff, and I think too, that's one of the reasons why there's never been a better time, to
Hmm.
start your own business. And while this stuff is all still free to use, right?
Hmm.
The social media and all that. But the fact that you will pull that together, how do you kind of generate the content? One of your solar unfiltered reels was about demystifying. I think there's like 5 myths about solar. Or you generally, because I think your format is you try to keep it within a minute. It's
Yeah.
very quick. I mean, you don't have an introduction. You just go, boom, hey, welcome. It's Ryan from Rynori. This is Solar Unfiltered. And then you just go right into it. It's
Yeah.
so easy to just kind of look at, but how do you generate the content? What to you makes it, oh, this is probably something that I should put out there that people want to hear about.
Yeah, and this that just comes with my experience, honestly. I've gotten so many different questions that I get from I've sat with thousands of homeowners, and they've asked, I would say 80% of them ask the same questions, and then there's that 20% that asks, the off the wall questions that you don't ever really hear. But yeah, I have a bunch of questions that I get from homeowners and people that I sit with, and there's also questions that people don't really ask either. And I just make sure that you know across the entire board that I'm making sure I'm answering every single question. I want to answer the uncomfortable questions about panel durability, tax credits and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's just my experience. I've heard a lot of questions, and yeah, I just answer the questions that I get all the time, and it's kind of funny because you know it's funny people ask the same questions, but and that's why I put it out there so that if people are asking these questions, people want to, I'm guessing everyone wants to know about this question, right? So I put that information
Absolutely.
out there in a very simple, concise way that is very understandable. So yeah, I mean, that's how I come up with some of the questions. Sometimes I, Google some questions, or sometimes I use ChatGPT. What are give me 20 different questions I people ask about solar, and yeah, and primarily I would say it's the questions that people ask me in appointments. Yeah.
What does the future look like? You're going to January or February, right? What does the rest of this year look like for you? I mean, what's going to be important for you? How do you find the inspiration of and plan where to go next?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I don't think there's a straightforward answer for that. I mean, there's different answers to that because I mean, I really look where I feel like my help was needed the most, right? Where can I help? Who can I help the most? I think it's all about, helping out those, I don't want to say the smaller companies, but helping out the companies that can, that would be a good partnership with me, right? So let's say, like an HVAC company. I think that's something that different ways for me to extend because I met with somebody. It's kind of funny. This literally, all these things are literally happening recently. I met with somebody, um, on Tuesday or Wednesday, he was wanting a roof or he was wanting solar. And he was like, yeah, I've looked into solar, went solar, yada, yada, yada. He ended up not being a good fit for him, but he also needed a roof. So that's another service that I can offer. So it's not that I don't want to stick to just one thing that I can do. I don't want to limit myself. I want there to be other ways I can help people out. So in my head, I just think about what are ways I can help people out, and just go from there. Because I know there's a lot of different ways I can help people out when it comes to not just solar, not just what I can offer, but yeah, I just think there's a lot out there that I can use. A lot of people that who a lot of other people, other companies I can help empower as well with not just growing their business, but growing their reach of who they can reach out to.
Love how nowhere in your answer was, and I'm sure you probably do this to some extent. Obviously, it wasn't. Well, I researched the markets that need my services.
Yeah.
You literally start where, who needs my help? What problems can I solve? And again, this is one of the reasons. It's one of a few reasons too why I wanted to have you on this show, because I think everybody needs to see this and see your heart. And I think it's absolutely come through in this. Like, I just look for who needs my help. Where can I go where I can help empower other people and other businesses? It's one of those things that I think a lot of the business gurus, they're trying to get everybody to strip down all of their strategy and get back to helping others. They're all trying to
Mhm.
remind us, like the Cody Sanchez's and the Alex Ramosys and all these people are just
Right.
saying, like, you need to focus on relationships. You need to focus on doing what's right. You need to focus on solving problems. What is it? Zig Ziglar back in the day, he said,
Yeah.
help everybody else get what they want and you'll get everything you want. You know, or
Right.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, remember people's names. Like that's where you can start. You can start
Mhm.
by actually calling people by their names. Obviously, I wish you all the success in the world with this. And the way to, this is the other thing I think, that people should notice, especially when they go into business for themselves. Your like ratio of what you share that you're doing versus what other people are doing. One of my companies, as an example,
Mhm.
you are sharing the good news of all the business owners that you work with or that you're
Yeah.
fans of, and you are a super fan of people. And I cannot say how much that means to somebody like me and other business owners that I know you're helping out. Like, you share
Mhm.
a lot of local places like Equal Minded Cafe, Cliff's Tap House,
Yeah.
with Cassidy and Scout Homes,
Mhm.
what Phil's doing with Armor, who he's come on the show. And, you know, it's really helpful because it's very lonely having a
Yeah.
business and going through this stuff, man. And, you know, I just wanted to tell you too in a recorded conversation how much I appreciate that, man. And I know other people appreciate that about you. And I think that's too, that's why, we're rooting for you, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing what you're doing. And I
Mhm.
also understand how intentional you are and how you're
Yeah.
not just going to hire a motivated person off the street, right?
You're right. You're
Like,
right.
they've got to be able to speak to people like you do in
Mhm.
your own way. And so, man, thanks for letting me take a moment there to just tell you how much
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Was there anything that we didn't discuss in this conversation that you wanted to make sure people know? Anything that we didn't talk about?
No, I don't know. I would say at the end of the day, don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything that you think you can do. If you think you can do it, you can do it. Right? Don't let other outside voices or outside noise keep you down. The only voice you need to listen to is this, and the one that's in your heart as well. Right? You just build a strong. It may not be a big community around you, maybe a strong two or three, maybe four people around you. Build that strong circle and just go, just thrive. Rely on your support system, rely on, what knowledge you're learning, and always grow. You may feel like, oh, today wasn't a good day, or oh, I didn't get a sale today, or oh, I didn't do X, Y, or Z. If you woke up that day, you won, right? So it's all about taking those little wins. Let those little wins pile up. Let them pile up, because those little wins will slowly start to turn into big ones, and then those big ones, then yeah, it just goes on from there. So don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything that you put your mind to, or something that you want to do. Um, there, lack of better words, I mean, there are haters out there who don't want to see you succeed. Not everyone wants to see you succeed, right? So you have to really hone in on what you're doing and what you want to do and why you want to do it, right? I don't believe in motivation personally, right? Because I feel like motivation it can die off at some point, right? You have to have a strong determination. You have to be determined, right? So that's what, I would leave people with is, be determined, be the best at what you do, and don't let anybody tell you you can't do it.
I love it. Wise words, Ryan. It's been such a pleasure having you on this show. Everybody listening, make sure that you check out Rynori Solar. We're linking all of Ryan's socials, his YouTube channel here in the show notes. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.